Hello and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Personified interview. I am your host, Louis Carlin, and we are part of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. I'm glad you could join us because today I have a very, very special guest, a very good friend of mine. He is a star in the Nova Scotia area. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my buddy, JP Sims. JP, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man. It's great talking with you again, as always. I can't wait to catch up, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be fun, man. It's always good talking to you. I know we talk a lot. I know we're good friends. I'm glad we became good friends, but it's going to be fun talking to you for the network, with you for the network. I'm looking forward to it, my man. I got a couple of questions. Just going to chat, have a conversation, have fun, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, every time we chat, man, it's always a good time, and this is going to be a really good time.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So just to start, what's new in the world of JP Sims?
Well, I've been just staying busy trying to get as many bookings as I can right now. It's actually been, the Maritimes has actually been popping with lots of shows, which is great. So I've been gotten way more bookings than I got last year. And, being a dad, I got a 4-year-old son, man. So I'm very busy and happy right now in my life. I couldn't ask for anything more.
I think you mean 4-month-old. You said 4-year-old, 4-month-old, right?
Or 4-month-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should say congratulations. I should say congratulations. In case anyone listening doesn't know, JP Sims recently became a dad, so congratulations on that, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. There's nothing like fatherhood, so as you know.
Yeah, no, I know. I got a 14-year-old daughter. They grow fast, so be prepared. Once they start walking, that's when the trouble starts, man.
That's right. I need to stop worrying about 4 years and enjoy the fact that my son's still, not even at crawling stage yet.
Have you taught him the simulator yet, or not yet?
Not yet, no. Give me a few more months, and he's going to be, by the time he's in daycare, he'll be dropping people with it for sure.
Okay, for those of you who don't know, the simulator is actually JP Sims' finishing move. So pretty soon, his son's going to be taking him down with the simulator. So that's something to look forward to, man.
Yeah, well, if he's going to take his dad down, then he better take some other people down with him. I mean, geez. I'm going to be the one teaching him the move, for crying out loud.
Yeah. No, he looks like he could go already, man.
Oh yeah, man. He looks like he's ready, man. He loves getting his pictures taken. He loves the attention. He seems like he's already destined to be a superstar. Like you can just tell. I'm feeling it already.
Yeah, father son tag team in the near future.
Hey, that sounds good to me, man. That sounds good to me. I'll still have gas in the tank by then.
Yeah, there you go. So let's we're gonna go back a bit and why don't you tell everybody how you got started in professional wrestling? And I know that you've trained with a very famous professional wrestler. Why don't you go back and let everybody know why you want to become a professional wrestler? Was there somebody that somebody that you saw on TV that made you decide to become a professional wrestler? So how did it all start for JP Sims?
For me, it all started when I was 8 years old, and I watched WrestleMania 12. And Shawn Michaels went one-on-one with Bret Hart in a 60-minute Iron Man match. And Shawn Michaels was my favorite. I was intrigued by him from the beginning, and I loved him. And that moment when he came off of, he came down from the ceiling area there, he made a spectacular entrance. That really did something for me. And I said, I want to do that someday. And the dream stuck, man. And, I finished high school. And I worked 2 jobs for a year so I could save up the money to move to Calgary to train with Lance Storm. And I tell you, man, it was definitely the most amazing experience that I ever could have gotten in the business, for sure. Like training with Lance Storm, just you couldn't compare. It was a great learning experience. And even to this day, I still think back and remember and appreciate the things that he's done for me. And I still will always continue to use the things that he taught me in the ring, and it's still a great feeling when I'm in the ring and I look back on my match or I critique what I could have done better, and I'll think like back to what Lance Storm taught me and stuff like that. So it was an amazing experience, like when I decided I wanted to be a professional wrestler and I said I was going to pursue it. I thought to myself, I need to find the best trainer that I can find, because if I'm going to do this, I want to learn from the absolute best. And I did my research for a couple of weeks, and I searched around and I seen Lance Storm's, And this would have been, I think in March, it would have been March. Yeah, March of 2008. I remember I reached out to him, and he only had one spot left for a September camp, and you had to put down a $500 deposit. And I remember I said to myself, man, this is, I know I can do this. So I slapped down that 500, and like I said, I worked at 2 jobs. And when I went out there, man, I never once doubted that I couldn't do it. And the experience was, it was hard, man, as to be expected, but I pulled through every day, and I just kept pushing and pushing. And, as soon as I was able to finish his training school and get into the ring, man, I was at it right away. And, it was an amazing experience for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just tell me, you go to the wrestling school, you get there, and you're face to face with Lance Storm. Now, Lance Storm has been in WCW, WWE. He's a big time wrestler. What's going through your mind when you're standing in front of Lance Storm and he's about to train you? Are you thinking, "Holy crap, this is Lance Storm"? Are you nervous? I mean, what's going through your mind at that time?
It's it was a really, really surreal feeling, and there was a lot of reasons why. First of all, it was Lance Storm, like you said, former WWE, WCW, ECW star, but also he was the first one that I ever would have met. So, obviously, as you work with more work stars and stuff, and you start working in the ring, and you work with these guys, it becomes normal to you. And but he would have been the first guy that I ever met. So it was like, I remember. Like that, it's just a really surreal feeling. I remember getting off the airplane, and because what he said was, "I'll meet you at the airport." And when he met me, I just remember, like, it was just one of those surreal feelings where I'm just like, man, like I'm literally gonna see him. I'm walking off the airplane now, and it's like I still remember the first time that I shook his hand and talked to him. It was pretty nerve wracking for sure, but like I was excited at the same time because I feed off of that kind of stuff. So it was one of those things where I was there. It was my first time being away from all my family and stuff. I was in Alberta, so it was a lot of new everything. But at the same time, as a 20-year-old kid, I was excited for that because that was the first time that anything like that ever happened to me, obviously. So it was one of those surreal feelings. But I remember I'd taken bumps, before I went there. Not that that mattered, but I'd at least taken some bumps and stuff. And even though I never got to train with like any great knowledgeable learners, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but I got to work with some people. I was in a ring at least before I went up there, so I'd already taken some bumps, and I'd already at least knew how to do that. So it was like I was excited to get in there and try to take those back bumps as good as I could, and then obviously that's one of the first things that you learn, and you move on from there. But it was pretty surreal, man. But it was worth every second, and Lance was a great guy, and he would stay for hours afterwards just to talk to you. So getting to know him was definitely, I'm lucky for it.
Yeah, he seems to be a pretty intense individual. It must have been some pretty intense training. He probably ran you through the gauntlet a few times. I would imagine.
Oh, for sure, man. He was very strict when it came to the stuff that he did in his classes, and like what we did, and he kept us on top of everything. Like we trained for 30-40 minutes of just warming up, like running the ropes and doing push-ups, steps, everything like that, like before we even got in the ring. And there would be days where he would throw curveballs at you. Yeah, you'd wrestle a match, and it might be against him, it might be against a student, and hey, you might wrestle a couple matches. And when you're new to all that, going in there and doing that's definitely intense, especially after you've done all that training on top of it. And there was lots of times where he would just, step in the ring and throw a complete curveball and be like, okay, cool, everybody get in. And, like we just start doing drills and stuff. And they were very intense, like I've told the story before. I don't think I've told it to you, but the one time out of that whole entire time I was there, arrived 10 minutes late because I missed my train. I had to take, well, first of all, backtrack a bit. I had to take it took me 2 hours to get there every day.
Okay.
I took a bus, a train, and a bus. So I was almost traveling for 2 hours to get there, and because Alberta's huge, obviously. So that itself was I felt like was a sacrifice just doing that alone, because I didn't know where I was going. But one time I missed my train, and I ended up getting there a little bit late. And the first thing he said to me when I walked in, he said, "Hey, you're here." I said, "Yeah, man. Sorry I'm late." And he said, "Cool. Give me 200 squats."
Oh
And I
man.
remember I thought he was joking, and I said, "Oh," and he's like, "I'm not joking. Like, get out and do them now. Like, maybe stand outside the ring and do them." And I probably at this point might have been at 100. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly how many I'd done already, but I tried to stop for 1 second, and I remember he looked at me and said, I never stopped counting. I never said you could stop." And then I realized I was like, man, like this dude's real, as he should be. Like I shouldn't have been late, and I made sure every day from then on that I was there early to make sure I never missed it again. And that's just the respect thing, and he deserves every bit of it, and I completely understand that. Like, for him, you get your ass there on time, and you get in there and you train, like, and for me, he didn't, I had no excuse to be late, and so I did it, and from then on, I always got there. But that was one of the first encounters I had with him when I realized how intense he really was. Like you said.
All right. How many? I'm sorry. How many months were you with him? You said 4 months.
3 months.
3 months.
3 months. It ended up being from September, like the second day of September, until right the end of November. So it ended up being the 14 weeks.
Okay, I gotcha. So 3 months goes by. You graduate. So what do? You went back to Nova Scotia, and what did you do about getting bookings? Did you just put your name out there? How difficult was it to get booked initially?
Well, I was actually living in a bed and breakfast up there, so I only had the 3 months anyway. So even if I wanted to have stayed up in Alberta, I couldn't have. So I definitely was excited to come back, but there wasn't a lot of work at the time out there. So I knew coming back would be the right chance because there was actually a couple of wrestling promotions that really actually started to do well in Nova Scotia. So I luckily came back at the right time. And again, I was very lucky because me and my other buddy Dave, who was a worker as well at the time, he gotten in contact with Chuck, who runs UCW, Chuck Martin.
Sure.
And he'd already met Chuck. I only met Chuck once or twice before I went to Alberta. And Chuck ran while I was gone. He ran a tour and a couple of spot shows. And then the first thing that Dave said when I came back is, like, why don't you come down to the school and meet Chuck and everybody? Like, he has a school, he has a ring set up and stuff like that. Come down and get in the ring and stuff. And I said, hell yeah! Like, and I went down and I met Chuck. And his show was 2 months after that. Would have been around 2 months after I'd come back from training, so it would have been in January. So I came back at the end of November. And I remember I said, man, if I can get in the ring a little bit, hopefully I could possibly land a spot on his card. And I went down and I was training there and I was going there on the weekends. And I remember I asked him, I said, like, if you ever got anything available, man, like I'd love a spot on the show. And I remember he said to me, well, I have an idea. Why don't I put you and Dave, Dynamite Dave Floyd was his name. And he said, why don't I put you and Dave in a 30-minute Ironman match? And I thought he was joking. And I said, awesome. It sounds good to me. And Dave said, I don't know if he was actually, like, serious or not. And I remember I pulled him aside, like, the next time I seen him, and I said, man, like I'm all for this match. Like, were you joking or not, kind of thing, not knowing if he was just ribbing me or not. And he said, no, like, that's the match that I want. And I remember right away, I was lucky to have gotten that opportunity right away. And there was another promotion in Truro, Nova Scotia, that had a show in January, and that was the first show I'd worked since I came back from training. So I didn't get any bookings in December, my first month back, but as soon as January came, I was able to pick those two up right away. And then luckily from there, I ended up staying with UCW. Man, I was very fortunate. And UCW and Chuck Martin, were very good to me. I ended up working lots of tours that year. So my first year in the business, I was on the road doing 7-8 day tours and, plus spot shows and stuff. So, luckily for Chuck Martin and UCW, there was lots of opportunity at that time. So I didn't have to sit around waiting. And the longer you sit, you're going to lose the knowledge that you learned. So I was lucky that I was able to train in the ring at his school and get right in the ring right away. So I was blessed, man. Luckily, I got a lot to work my first year. And I remember that year. I'll never forget it. It was my first year in the business. It was amazing.
Yeah, awesome story, man. So, tell us when was the first time you actually won the UCW World Heavyweight title?
The first time I ever won the UCW World Heavyweight title would have been in August of 2011.
And who was your opponent, and who did you defeat for the title?
I defeated Wildman Gary Williams in a steel cage match. It was actually it was pretty cool, man. Small crowd. It wasn't in the arena that we regularly run our show, so we lost some fans. But I'll always remember that match, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that must have been something. I know you mentioned Bret Hart earlier, the Shawn Michaels match. So growing up, was it Bret Hart who was your hero growing up, or was it Shawn Michaels, or was it somebody else? Shawn Michaels.
It was Shawn Michaels. Like him and Undertaker were almost like my equals, but Shawn Michaels was always my favorite, and he was the guy that made me want to be a wrestler. Like I always loved Bret Hart, but you know how everybody always has it's Shawn or Bret. Shawn was always my favorite. You know, like go to the two, and he was the guy that initially made me want to be a wrestler. Just the charisma and just the way he held himself was amazing. And I appealed to it right away.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I was a Bret Hart guy, so actually we differ there.
That's right.
I don't know if me and you could settle this in a Texas death match or something, but I was always a Bret Hart guy.
We could do a 60-minute Iron Man match if you want.
No, maybe the shape I'm in, maybe I could do a 2-minute Iron Man match with you.
Yeah.
That's about it. I don't think I can last more than 10 minutes, man.
Oh, I think you'd be okay. No, maybe not last more than 10, but I think you could get past 2.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4.
Amen.
Yeah, so you actually, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about AJ Styles. You actually went toe-to-toe with AJ Styles for WrestleCenter. What was that like? What was it like wrestling AJ Styles, one of the best wrestlers in the world? And for those listening, if you haven't seen the video, JP Sims went toe-to-toe and hung right in there with AJ Styles. Go to YouTube, watch the video, AJ Styles versus JP Sims. But what was it like? What was it like getting in the ring with someone like AJ Styles? You must have been nervous as crap getting into the ring with him.
Man. Yeah, working with AJ Styles, that was the most amazing experience of my wrestling career by far, and obviously, that was one of the funny thing is that, I was a little bit nervous, as anybody would be, but I was actually excited. I was more excited than I was nervous because I thrive off of that kind of stuff, like I said. And I remember that was kind of a chance for me to prove that I could hang, like I always said that I could, and I'd been in a ring with, stars, like, I'd been in a ring with Marty Jannetty and Matt Stryker, and I teamed up with Charlie Haas, and I'd been in a ring with some of those other guys, Highlander, Robbie McAllister. But, I was AJ Styles, was like a whole different deal. He's one of the best wrestlers in the entire world. And I took it as an opportunity to show everybody that I could hang, and that was like one of those things where it was like a sink or swim moment for me. It was like, okay, I know that I'm meant to do this, and I know that this is my passion and my love, and I know that I have the ability to hang with anybody in the world, but this is my one opportunity to show everybody and show everybody in my hometown, and with a show that was in a match that was going to be aired on television, So it was one of those, a really big moment for me. And I remember I trained really hard every day, obviously, and I put a lot of work in, and that was a match I was really, really excited. I remember the day of the show where I woke up, man, I actually was excited, and I couldn't wait to go to the arena and meet him. And, like when we met face to face, we were great. We were talking and chatting and laughing, and, put our match together, and it was great, man. Like I was actually more excited than nervous, so there was nothing like it, man. It was great.
Yeah, prior to that match, he actually hurt a number of wrestlers doing the Styles Clash, and I know he did it on you. Were you nervous about taking it, or were you just like, go ahead, just give it to me?
Oh yeah, I was excited. Like everybody was nervous around me, saying, damn, because like I said, I know one of them was Yoshitatsu. That was one of them, and I don't know the other guy, but he did. And I said, no, man. I said, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not discrediting any of those guys by any stretch of the imagination. But I said, I know that I can take that move. I've taken it before, from other guys, but like it wasn't only that. But I said, look, I wouldn't do something if I didn't think that I could do it, and I knew I could do it, and I knew that AJ Styles, if he's coming down here, man, he's got to hit the Pele. He's got to hit the Styles Clash. I'm not going to come, like what that's what people want to see. And I said, and I know I can do it. And, the first thing he said when we went over our match and stuff was, are you comfortable taking it? And I said, yeah, like no, not even a thought behind it. Yeah. And I meant it, it wasn't just me saying, yeah, because that's the answer to give him. Yeah. And he said, how to, where to have you, not to tuck your head. I said, yep. And as soon as he picked me up for it, didn't have my head anywhere near being tucked, and he knew that, and it was, I believed in myself, and I knew I could take that move, man.
No, well, you took it really well. I was a little disappointed that you lost the match. When I initially saw it, I was kind of hoping you would have won, but no, you took the Styles Clash like a champ, man. You took it like a champ.
I appreciate it, man.
Hey, you got it, bro. You got it, bro. So we're gonna stick on Wrestle Center for a while. Wrestle Center is another promotion that's out in the Nova Scotia area. Tell us about the Jake Roberts incident, the infamous Jake Roberts incident that occurred between you and him.
Oh man,
I love this story, and it's on YouTube as well. In case anybody hasn't seen it, but go ahead, JP, let us know what happened there.
Oh man, that was another great experience, man. And yeah, everybody check that out on YouTube because he slapped the piss out of me, and that was a lot of fun. The storyline was playing off of like me not respecting the company or the business or the people around me, and Jake was going to be the guy to come out and say, Punk, I don't care who you are, I'll slap the piss out of you, kind of thing. And I remember he told me in the back, he said, I'm going to smack you, and I'm going to smack you pretty hard. And I said, okay, okay, cool. And I'll tell you, I never expected him to smack me as hard as he did. If you go back and watch that tape, my face actually turns, and that was all him, it was. He's a big boy, man. So, I didn't really even think about it like that until he did it, but he smacked the crap out of me. And he said, I want you to spin around and I want you to hit me. I want you to hit me with your finishing move. And originally he wasn't gonna take it. Well, and it wasn't even because he didn't want to take it. That wasn't even originally in the script. He agreed to take it from what I was told. He wanted to take it, and I said, awesome, man. And he said, just tap me, pull me around. Pull me at my shoulder, turn me around, and I'll take my. I'm not going to be able to take the best one, but I'm going to try to take it as much as I can flat. And he did, man. I for a 60-something-year-old man, he took that like a trooper, and that was an amazing experience, man. Like just the fact that he was willing to come down again, a guy that didn't have to take that move, didn't have to do that at all to help me, but he did, and he wanted to make a difference when he was down here. And, that meant a lot to me that he was willing to take that move, and for him to take the simulator, that was huge that boosted me up huge, for sure. And within a couple of days, that video, had 18,000 views, and, it went around, and that was great. So, that was a great experience for me for sure. But, I'll tell you, as soon as that old man slapped me, I wasn't long putting him flat on his face with the simulator.
Yeah, that was actually, that slap, when he hit you, I was watching on YouTube. I actually felt that slap. That was one hell of a slap. And this wasn't a kayfabe slap, like you said. He really reared back and just slapped you as hard as he could. I'm surprised your head didn't fall off. That was such a hard slap, man.
When I'm holding my face, man, afterwards, when I'm standing on him, that's a shoot, man. That actually was still sore, man. It's like, that was harder than punches I've taken, man. And I've eaten hard punches, and that hurt, man. Like he got me right in the jaw. So it was like, man, I'm in the back, and I'm like, damn, this guy's 60-something years old, but my God, he still got a smack on him. Imagine if he hit somebody with a DDT. Not me, of course, but if he had somebody else, he wouldn't even dare do that with JP Sims.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who would? No one's going to mess with JP Sims, man. Otherwise, they get simulated, right?
That's right.
Speaking of, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
No. I say I had to get helped out last time, so you don't want to do it again.
Yeah, no, man. No, I mean, I know I've been mentioning this simulator a number of times. How did you come up with that with the simulator? It's kind of like your version of the RKO, but how did you come up with that finishing move?
Right, yeah, it is. Actually, Tyler from Wrestle Center came up with that name for me, actually. One day we were just doing some tapings, and he might actually throw the name at me before that, but I remember one day we were just doing some tapings, and he mentioned the simulator, like my last name's Sims, so, simulator just made a lot of sense, and it was one of those things where when he mentioned it to me, it couldn't have come it was perfect name for a perfect move, like putting somebody down face first, like an RKO, the simulator, it just had the perfect buzz, and I wish I could take the credit for it, but Tyler from Wrestle Center actually gave me it, man. Great name. Couldn't have suited any more.
Oh yeah, no, awesome story, man. So so with Wrestle Center, you were the IFWA champion. That was their main champion, and unless if I'm not mistaken, Wrestle Center was actually formed. When they had you in mind as being the top guy. I think there was some interviews on some news shows where you and Tyler did, but you were going to be the top guy, and it was formed, and you were basically, it was formed around JP Sims. How did it feel at that time that a promotion, had that much trust in you that they were going to make you their top guy and build a company around you?
Felt great, man. Felt really great. They talked for a while about, starting a promotion, and it was one of those things where it was a slow burn and a long build, and at that time I wasn't working for UCW at the time. I'd left for a little bit, had a little bit of a falling out, and I'd went and wrestled for another promotion or whatever, and Jason and Tyler were working with UCW at the time. And then a few months later, they'd done the show with Matt Stryker. They did that as like a joint show with UCW, but it wasn't really technically Wrestle Center yet. They just wanted to test the waters, I think. And after that was when they really wanted to pull tell me that they're going to they're going to push me as the top guy. Because at that time, they still hadn't had their own show. It was when they did the show with AJ Styles. And, it was a good feeling, man. It felt good to know that they had enough faith in me to know that they could put me in that top spot, and that I could hang with anybody that they put me in the ring with, and that I could change my style and my pace with anybody that they put me in the ring with. And, I don't go into business for myself. I go out there and I do business and I do what's right. And they knew that they didn't have to worry about that. And, it was great, man. Like the ride when it started was really good.
Now, I just want to say, you mentioned Jason and Tyler, just in case anyone doesn't know. They're actually the producers at Wrestle Center. So you're the IFWA champion. You were IFWA champion for a while, wrestling for Wrestle Center. Things were going good. But then it took a 360 turn, and things actually weren't so good, and you no longer wrestle for them. I know there was a falling out there. Do you care to talk about why that happened, why there was a falling out between you and Wrestle Center?
Yeah, man. Well, basically what happened was, last year Wrestle Center ran four shows, I believe. Yeah, 4 shows. And 5 shows, sorry. 5 shows. And that was kind of where it all started for me. It was like, okay, like, this is good, like, I'm digging it, but there ain't enough shows. And Jason had this rule, Jason Mosier had this rule that you couldn't work for UCW and you couldn't work for Wrestle Center. You couldn't work for the both. You had to pick one or the other. And at first it was like, okay, well, if you're gonna run shows and stuff like that, then I'm all on board. But he kept running less shows, and I said, man, like, I got to get in the ring and I got to get some experience. And he didn't want me to work for him. He said no. And I basically said, look, man, like, I got to get to work, like, that's my career. I'm doing this for me. I'm not going to sit around and just wait for you to run another show again. And, basically I started working for UCW again, and I got lots of good bookings, and, and then I'd worked their last show there where I dropped the belt. And then we didn't know when their next show was going to be, and I was going to work the show. But I told Jason that I don't know 100% if I can do it, depending on when you run it. Like he said in maybe January or February, I can't remember exactly when, that he was probably going to run a show in March, like somewhere in there, but it wasn't completely finalized. And I said, okay, that's fine. But my son's born that month, so depending on, there's a chance that I might not be able to work that show. And, he said, no problem and stuff. And that was fine. And then, when I talked to him about it weeks later and told him I couldn't do the show, he was just kind of passive about it. Like, yeah, that's fine. I already kind of thought you weren't doing it. And I told him originally that there was a chance that I wasn't going to be able to work that show. And, he started, telling people that I wasn't working the show because UCW wouldn't allow me to work the show or whatever, because now UCW apparently had this rule that, you can't work for both. And I told him it had nothing to do with that. It was the fact that, it's just in March, I can't make a guarantee for a booking that early in March, and he was completely cool with it when I talked to him. But then, we went along and, got some, I'm not even going to acknowledge something to mimic me, as an attempt to try to get back at me because I wasn't there, and it completely failed miserably. It didn't bother me in any way, and it's foolish that a guy doesn't want to work for you, so you feel the need to go and get somebody to try to mock him. It's I found that laughable. So it made me glad that I made the decision that I made not to work the show.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you didn't. I know how they mocked you, and we don't have to go into it. And I thought that was a extremely low point in Wrestle Center, what they did to you. And I stopped being a fan once they did that, and it was total bullcrap the way they did that. But
it was I also want to note that it was a complete failure. It didn't get the story over that they'd hoped it would have gotten. It was lame, it was stupid, and nobody cared. Which means that it didn't get over. So it's like, it was a joke. And I was sitting at work that night, and I was absolutely hysterical about it. I thought it was comical that they had to stoop to that level. When you got to acknowledge a guy that's not working for you anymore, I feel sorry for you. I can't be mad at you. I feel sorry for you. I really do. But.
Well, it's not just you. They've had a lot of top stars, like Marcus Burke and like Dick Durning, and and even David Boyce used to work for them, but they just can't keep the top stars. Nobody likes working with the guy for some reason. It's definitely not you guys, but anyway, we don't have to talk any more negativity. There was actually, working for Wrestle Center, there was actually one more positive thing for you that came out of it. You got to work with the legendary Kurt Angle. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Oh yeah, man, that was huge. Kurt Angle being the special guest referee and the match, me and Matt Bullen was, that was a lot of fun. And Kurt Angle was a great guy to work with, just such a nice guy and such a helpful guy. And, he was very supportive, and staying in touch with him ever since has been, the most, best thing that could have happened to me. I remember after the show, I got his phone number, and we stayed in touch. We still do to this day, and I'm blessed for that, man. He's been a huge help, and he's been a huge motivator, and he's been huge in pushing me and motivating me to keep pushing and reaching for the stars, man. I never would have thought, I'll tell you, I never would have thought in a million years that I would have had Kurt Angle's number. If somebody had asked me 15 years ago if I would have been, talking to Kurt Angle and trying to get some advice from him, and just talking to him about how my career is going, I would have laughed at you, he's a great guy, man. I always let him know when I got shows coming up. He's always supportive, he always offers that support and respect and motivation. And, I'm very appreciative and fortunate to have a connection with Kurt Angle.
Oh, that's awesome. So when are we going to see you in NXT? When is he going to get you on?
It's going to happen, man. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
I know it's going to happen, man. You're going to be there soon.
We'll get there, man. The sooner the better, but I'll tell you, I want to just keep working towards it, man, and just putting that work in. And, I know when the timing's right, it will happen. And, it's going to be amazing. And it'd be really cool and fulfilling to be there while he was there, and be able to say, hey, man, look how far I've come. And thanks to you, man, for pushing me and motivating me to train and, in the gym and train in the ring. And then it's yeah, man, it's been amazing.
That's awesome. Okay. So going on to UCW now, you actually took on Rikishi. It was for UCW. You took on Rikishi, right?
Yes, it was.
Yes. You took the stink face, didn't you?
I did. I took a portion of it, but I'll tell you, I'm he didn't actually put his butt in my face. So,
okay.
still took it, but I had my head towards the turnbuckle, and he basically told me, just kind of turn your head towards it, and I won't actually do it. They're not going to be able to notice anyway. And I remember he didn't tell me that until I went out there, so at that point I was just expecting to take it. Yeah.
Okay, dude, I gotta ask. You're in the corner. You're sitting there, and you see Rikishi's ass right in front of you. What the hell is going through your mind? Are you fearing for your life? Are you thinking, I just want to get the hell out of here? I mean, I would have tucked tailed and I would have ran, man. What's going through your head there? Just staring, you're like 2 inches away from his ass.
Well, luckily I'd actually have my eyes closed right until he turned in, and when I turned my head, but I was just thinking to myself, man, I got to get the hell out of here. And I'm also thinking to myself, my God, the stuff that we must love this business. If we do this stuff that we do, so I was like, man, just hold your breath, just turn your head and get it over with, and you're gonna laugh about it, man, because again, he's another guy that I loved and I enjoyed watching growing up. So, it was, it was fun to be in the ring with him, man. And even though I took the stink face, again, it's a guy that I watched growing up, so it was what it was.
He actually did say to you that you belong in the Performance Center. Is that correct? The WWE Performance Center?
Yeah, man. He said he thanked me for being safe with him, and he said, "Man, kid," he said, you should be in that NXT." And I remember I said, "Well, man, like, love it if you put the word in, man." And he said, and he said to me, he said, "I'll remember who you are, man." And I said, "Well, hopefully I'll see you down the road." And I got his email and another great connection to be able to send matches to, and but just to hear that from him again was a huge compliment, and it just shows that my hard work's paying off, and that if these guys are saying it, then I must be doing something right. So I'm just going to stick to what I'm doing and just keep on thriving, man.
No, of course. I mean, toe to toe with AJ Styles. Rikishi says you belong in the Performance Center. Kurt Angle is supporting you, dude. You're going to be in NXT by the end of the year, man. That's my prediction, man. You're going to be in NXT by the end of the year.
Thank you for that, man. I appreciate that, and I would love for that to happen, man. That would be amazing, and even just getting a tryout at the Performance Center by the end of the year, just even getting my foot in the door in any single way I can is the goal, man. Just to get further than I was last year.
So now that I know we've done interviews before, but they were handwritten. This is actually going to be recorded. So I'm going to ask you now, when you get to NXT, you're giving me the first interview, right, buddy?
Oh, yeah, man. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll never forget that, man. I told you, as soon as I get there.
All right,
me, Matt, we're not going to follow the touch, man. I'll still do anything podcast you want, man. I'll be there to talk about it, man, and show you and talk about how you and me met when I was down here in Nova Scotia working my way up, man, most definitely. And we got to get you as my manager one of these times. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I would absolutely love to be your manager. It's got to happen, man. Take me to NXT. I could be a manager there. We could talk we could talk to Triple H. Triple H is gonna Triple H will love the both of us, I think.
Oh yeah, man. You could be my heel general or my heel manager, man. I think that would be awesome. We'll make it happen. All
right, man. So you heard it here first. When JP Sims gets to NXT, the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network is getting the first interview. All right, so that's cool. That's cool, man. I appreciate that. So what else we got going on here? So, talk to me about IHW. You've been showing up at shows when you're not supposed to be there. So what's going on with IHW? I know you recently you took on Julian Young and you defeated him, but take us back to when you first started showing up at IHW when you weren't really supposed to be there.
They did their first show of the year in at the end of March. And, basically I just voiced a couple of my opinions like everybody else does. Everybody else gets to voice their opinions of what they think of JP Sims and stuff. I just figured I'd voice mine a little bit and, didn't go over too well. So, I figured I had a day to spare. I figured I'd take a drive up and, I'd check the show out for myself. And, they didn't like it that I was there. Ended up, hitting Julian Young with a low blow from behind, and he challenged me to get in the ring. And I said on my terms, not theirs. And basically, that's all it was, man. I just been showing up and getting kicked out, and for some reason, I keep on buying another ticket, aka getting another ticket because I got those connections, bro. You know that.
Yeah,
and
I know.
you know, and then so he challenged me to have a match, and one night only contract with one night only to fight in IHW, no other time, and basically I just waited for my opportunity, and I beat him in under a minute, and I had my hand raised, and it felt great because I'll tell you, for a lot of reasons, it felt great to stick it to everybody, and it also felt really good because it's been so long since I've been doing shows regularly in Moncton, so it was really nice in all seriousness to be up there and being able to get in front of a different audience, a different crowd, that's giving me that heat, instead of showing me that respect, they're giving me that same heat, but I'm doing it in a fresh environment. And, it's really nice to be able to hone my craft and show everybody in Moncton who the real deal is.
So that was a one night only contract. Are you with IHW now, or was that just a one? I think I said 1 month, one day only contract.
Yeah, it was just a one day only contract. It was just you and Julian get in the ring, and you and Julian Young get in the ring, and settle a score, and basically just that's how it was. It was not a we're gonna have you in here regularly. It's more about, well, if he keeps showing up every time, then why would we let him in the locker room? He's got a one night only contract, and and that's that kind of thing. And then see what happens from there.
So you're gonna keep showing up, or what? Are you gonna keep taking guys out?
Yeah, I might take another trip up there. I mean, hey, maybe you can, if you're ever got some spare time on the weekend, maybe you can come down.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to come down with you.
There's a good chance that I'll show up there again. And I mean, if you and me showed up there, I mean, they'd be no good because you and me we were on the online there arguing with all of them, and if they get us in there and we're in front of the crowd, in that ring, they ain't gonna know what to do, man.
That's major heat. Yeah, I remember me and you were actually getting into it with some of the IHW fans on Facebook. That was fun.
Yeah,
that was fun, man.
Hours, man, like days worth of arguing. Like the threads were like 100 and something messages long, man.
I know everyone's like, "Oh, we don't like JP Sims." But once somebody types in, like myself, JP Sims rules, you get like you said, about 120 different comments come in. Yeah. So you're like way over, man.
For every person that says that I'm good, all of them will go to their way to talk about how I'm not. So it's like, well, hey, man, I must be doing something right because I'm not the one talking about me. You are. So, like if I'm sitting there, because it never failed. Every time that you made a point to be like, oh, like my man JP Sims, he's the best in Maritime. By the next time I check my notifications, there's at least 20, and this guy's saying that I don't look like a wrestler, and this guy's saying that I can't wrestle, and he's seen me before and I suck, and then the other guy's saying that, I'm not over at all, and that the fans don't. It's great, man. Like it's a lot of fun, and just talking about it, that makes me want to show up at another IHW show to stick it to them. So yeah, I might have to show up again soon.
Why don't you just simulate Titus and take the title from him, man?
Yeah, well, if I wanted to, I would. I'll let him do his thing, but I'm just more about making an impact right now to show everybody that hey, I might not have a belt, but I'm still going to make sure everybody remembers who I am, and that's the main goal.
Yeah, there you go, man. So back to UCW. Actually, you were you and Marcus Burke actually headlined that. Was it the 10th anniversary or 15th anniversary show?
It was the 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary. That was in front of like over 1,500 people, right?
There was 1,300 people actually. I think
1,300. I stand corrected. But what was it like? You against Marcus Burke for the UCW heavyweight title, headlining their biggest show ever. I think Ryback was scheduled to wrestle, but he was hurt. He couldn't wrestle. You had Abyss was there against Titus, so it was a huge show. Kelly Klein against Madison Miles, but you were headlining with Marcus Burke. So what was it like, headlining that show with Marcus Burke?
It was good, man. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and it was one of those things where it was again a great respect factor where Chuck seen enough in us to let us end the show instead of Ryback or anybody like that. Let your locals go out there and send the fans home happy. So we knew, like, I knew that there was a lot riding on that match, and it had to be a good one. But I've also been in I've also wrestled for UCW for years off end, and 5 years ago when Bret Hart and Chavo Guerrero were down for his Summer Explosion tour, I headlined that show and it was 1,200 people, and I've wrestled AJ Styles and everybody else. So for me, it was just another opportunity to go out there and show everybody and try to have the best match possible and send the fans home happy and get more eyes on me. I knew that I could do that, man. Like if I could headline a show that Bret Hart and Chavo Guerrero, obviously Bret didn't wrestle, but that Bret Hart's on and Chavo Guerrero's on and stuff like that in 2012, when I was only 3 years in the business, I knew that this was going to be something that, we were going to be able to nail, and we did, I enjoyed it, man. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, so that's right. So you were in the ring with actually in the ring with Bret Hart, and he actually raised your hand in victory. I can't remember who your opponent was, but you raised your hand. What was it like having Bret Hart grab your arm and just raise you in a victory, and you're looking over and you're thinking, wow, you versus Shawn Michaels is the reason why I'm in this business. That must have been, your heart must have been going a mile a minute at that moment.
It's funny you'd say that. That's actually exactly what was going through my mind. I was wrestling Wildman Gary Williams in that match. That was in PEI.
Okay.
That would have been 2 days before the big show I was just talking about. He said, I'm going to come out. I'm going to reverse the decision of the match, and I'm going to raise your arm. I said, awesome, sounds good. And he wasn't in the locker room. He was over, I don't know if he was at a merch table or if he was somewhere else. But anyway, he wasn't in the locker room with us. And, his music just hit after the match, and he came out and he cut a promo on Wildman Gary Williams. And, he ended up telling me, saying that I was the winner, and then he raised my arm. And the first thing that I thought about was, like you said, man, this guy was in the match that changed my entire life, that made me want to do this. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. I got Bret Hart raising my hand right now. I was 24 at the time. And it's like, man, when you were just 16 years ago, you were watching this guy and saying, I want to do this someday. And now he's raising your arm. It's like, it was an amazing feeling, man. It was great. And I was fortunate to have been able to meet Bret a few other times after that and stuff like that. And it was always great, man. Bret Hart was awesome guy, man.
Did you have the urge just to simulate him once and just say that's for Shawn?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I thought about it. And I also thought
I thought so.
Music.
Yeah, that would have been funny though. That would have been funny if you just simulated him and say that's for Shawn Michaels and just give him the crotch chop and walk out. That would have been awesome.
That would have been dope, man. That would have been great. I'll have to do that if he ever comes back.
Yeah, man. You gotta. Back to Marcus Burke for a second. I know Marcus Burke calls himself the best non-signed wrestler in Canada, or something of that nature. How do you feel about that when he calls himself the best, unsigned wrestler in Canada?
It's just simply not true. So I just he's entitled to his own opinion, but I don't think he's the best in the unsigned wrestler in Canada. And I'll tell you right, I think that I'm the best unsigned wrestler in Canada right now. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the best body. You don't have to have the best. You don't have to be the best in the ring, even though, as everybody likes to say, and they try to make all these reasons why somebody should be or not. Bottom line is that I've done what I've done for a reason, and I've got the connections that I've got for a reason, and clearly I'm doing something right. And I think that I'm the best unsigned wrestler in Canada, and I think that if they took a look at me, that they would be interested. And I don't care what anybody else says. I know that the right people would recognize my talent. I'm 29 years old. I'm young. I've got lots to learn. I'm hungry to learn, and they can work with somebody that's 29 years old. And I know that, I'm the best unsigned wrestler in Canada.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say that I'm actually talking right now to the best unsigned wrestler in Canada, and it's definitely you, JP. And I know you're gonna make it. It's going to happen for you. Just Again, like I stated earlier, with all those connections you have, I predict you're going to be in NXT. I'm going to say NXT or ROH by the end of this year. I would love to see you in ROH. I think you would thrive in ROH, actually. We'd love to see you against, I don't know if you're familiar with Flip Gordon or Jonathan Gresham, some of the young stars, but I think you would mesh well with them, and you against any of those two, or anybody for that matter, in ROH. I think you would just be a fantastic match, and I definitely think you're going to get there one day, by the end of this year, I should say.
Well, thank you for that, man. I appreciate it, and you know, I think so too. And you know, like one thing that I've always laughed about is the fact that, you know, people have this thing that I can't work and that I'm not any good, but it's like, it's funny. I wouldn't have these connections with the people that I've had if I wasn't any good, you know. And it's like, it means nothing to me when people say that I'm not any good. When I wrestled AJ Styles, I've wrestled Marty Jannetty, you know, I've wrestled Petey Williams, Christopher Daniels, Matt Stryker. You know, I've got a connection with Kurt Angle. You know, I don't care what anybody else, what those people say when they try to say that I'm not any good. Obviously, I'm doing something right, and I don't have to go out there and kill myself doing it every night. You know, clearly, I'm doing something good if I've come as far as I have. You know, and I know that clearly I'm doing something right if I'm still talking to Kurt Angle. So, you know, I'm just going to continue to put that hard work in, and I know the time will come, and I don't care what anybody else around here says. Their opinions don't mean anything to me. Kurt Angle's opinion is what matters to me. You know, like Matt Stryker's opinion is what matters to me. Guys like that actually have been there can talk.
Hey, doesn't my opinion matter to you at all?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. But when the people try to say, you know, like, oh, I'm not any good or whatever, it's like, do you think your opinion means anything to me? You know, it's like, where have you been to say that? You know, like, go talk to somebody who's actually been there, you know, like, but the people that, you know, support me, obviously 100%, but I take the opinions from the people that matter, not the people that don't.
Yeah, my feelings were almost hurt there, JP, when you said I.
Oh no!
I'm kidding. My feelings.
You've always been supportive, bro, and I appreciate it.
I'm just kidding. My feelings weren't getting hurt at all. I know you had a manager at one point. I think it's Reginald Birch. Whatever happened? I know he was with you a few times, but is he still your manager? Are you still connected with him, or do I have to take him out to become your manager? Or what's going on, man?
No, you know, like I'm open to more managers than one. You know, Reginald Birch is he hasn't been my manager in a while, but you know, he's still there. He's still one of my buddies. You know, he still backs me up and he still represents me. And you know, he hasn't came out to ringside with me for the last couple of shows, but that doesn't mean that he's not still backing me up. But what that does mean is that opens an opportunity for somebody else to come out the ringside with me. So you know,
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can continue to support me on the social media. Maybe somebody else can walk out there. I'm thinking maybe, you know, maybe you, man. Maybe Lewis Carlin can come out with me, man.
Yeah, no. Lewis Carlin would love to walk the aisle with JP Sims. I would get in the ring. I would cut a killer promo for JP Sims. And I'm thinking with Marcus Burke, man, I would have cut you did cut a killer promo on Marcus Burke. I love the whole hand and the bug eye thing, but I'd cut a killer promo on Marcus Burke. If anybody actually, anyone who dares challenge JP Sims, I definitely cut a killer promo on them, man, because JP Sims is the man. He's number one, man.
Oh man, I appreciate it, man. You and me, we'll be a number one team, man. We'll kill it, man. We'll show everybody.
So you actually have July 2nd. You have what is this? Annapolis Royal Rumble coming up. I think Lincoln Steen and Mike Hughes are also on the card. Is that just going to be like a WWE type Royal Rumble? What's happening there?
I'm actually not too sure of the details, but I'm actually doing the show the night before that as well. I'm doing the show on July 1st and July 2nd. And I did see that there's an advertised battle royal. I'm not sure the rules. I assume it'll probably just be you know, like a Royal Rumble. Like they usually just have people come out every certain amount of time. You know, like whatever it is, a minute, 2 minutes. But I don't know. But either way, you know, I'm gonna go out there and take it, man.
All right, man. So before we wrap this up, I know you mentioned the show coming up. I think it was before this Royal Rumble. Are there any other shows coming up that you wanna plug? I know the UCW has their was it the Summer Explosion Tour? I think it's called, and I'm sure you're part of that. So anything you want to plug, any YouTube channel, any Twitter handle you want to plug, go right ahead, man.
Yeah, man. I'll be working the shows this July 1st, Saturday, July 1st, Sunday, July 2nd. And I'm also going to, I think I'm going to do 3 of the 4 UCW shows that are coming up, the Summer Explosion Tour. They've got Yarmouth, Lunenburg, Kentville, and Halifax, and I'll be on a couple of those as well. So still staying busy and getting as much work as I can this summer. So, by all means, follow me on Twitter at JP_Sims. Go like my fan page, JP Sims, and most importantly, come check out the shows and support JP Sims.
Well, man, you got to come to Toronto, man. I still haven't seen a live JP Sims match. I've seen a lot of YouTube JP Sims match, but you gotta come to Toronto and work here, man. You gotta get into Destiny, or you have to get into some of the promotions out here, man. So like you said, so I could walk you down the aisle, cut a killer promo on someone, and then you could just take them out with a simulator, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. That would be great, and that's still on the list, man. I'm still doing my best to make that happen, man. We got to do that. I'd love to come out in Toronto and work. And the only thing that could be better, man, is you coming out and cutting a killer heel promo and being my manager, man. We'd be able to look back and say, we came a long way, and that'd be awesome. It'll happen.
I was just thinking, if Marcus Burke listens to this, he's not going to come after me, is he? He's not going to come with his.
No, he'll go talk crap on Facebook.
What's that?
He'll just go talk crap on Facebook.
Okay. Okay. I don't want him to come after me, or I'll have to stimulate Marcus Burke.
Stimulate is the way to go, man. They don't get up from it. They don't.
He's gonna destroy me, isn't he? He's coming after me, that guy. I need you to protect me, man. I need you to come down here and be my bodyguard or something.
Yeah, man. I'll jump on a plane and I'll come down and I'll make sure you're good, man. We'll just
all right,
chill.
Man. I see you're drinking a beer there, aren't you, man? You were drinking a light beer. What was that?
It was a Budweiser shot.
Budweiser, man. Now I've been drinking water, and I'm done. You put me in the mood for beer, man. When I'm done, I gotta go crack one open, and we'll have to. We'll have a little toast, man, afterwards.
For sure. I didn't know that you could still see me.
No, I could see you, man. I could see you. You were sitting there with your Laker jersey on.
Yeah, man.
Kind of pissed me off because I'm a Knicks fan, but.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so that's cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for joining me today, man. It's always fun talking with you, man. And yeah, so I know we talk every day, and it's funny because I asked you a lot of these questions, and I already know the answers to them because we talk all the time. But it was fun talking to you, man. And anytime you want to come back on and talk about anything, feel free, man. Just ask.
Oh yeah, man. Anytime, man. It's always great chatting with you, and I'd love to reconnect again soon. And like I said, we talk every day anyway, but it's always fun to get together and do these podcasts and catch up and chat and talk, and we always have good conversations, man. I'm excited for the next one already.
All right, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Well, this has been the Pro Wrestling Personified interview for the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. For JP Sims, I am Lewis Collin. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.